I'm a very delusional person. I live in the delusion. I try to make that delusion a reality. I was initially very scared of sharing things with my family. Coming from a very humble background and a small town in India, I know how they've sacrificed things. So I always had this one thing to give back, to share something like this with them that I'm not gonna be working on a regular job. So it was very, I was in a dilemma to share that with them. There was one point where I decided to share that with my dad that I wanna start something up. I have this idea. It's not a miraculous idea. It's not turn into a $1 million business idea like in a couple days or couple months. I have an idea. I want to execute it. I want to see how it works. When I meet a lot of people out there, they are working over there, but there's always one idea in their head that they always want to put. Quality that's missing in a lot of people is not taking that risk. I think what separates people who take risks and who don't take risks is what 0 to 1 is.
Welcome back to the Midweek Motivation Podcast, a show where I interview interesting and inspiring guests from all walks of life, including athletes, entrepreneurs, artists, and people with big dreams who go out to change the world. This is episode 5, and today I am absolutely thrilled to have an interview with Karanbir Sethi, the founder of 0 to 1, a purpose-driven lifestyle brand. If you have watched my content over the last year, you would have seen me in one of their tees or in the jumper that I'm wearing right now. Born and raised in a small town of India, Karanbir grew up involving himself in many challenging activities as possible. From the physical and sporting world of cycling the world's highest motorable road at the age of 16 and becoming a national player in table tennis, to involving himself in leadership programs and becoming a student board director at Activate UTS. I'm so excited to finally hear the story behind 0 to 1 and the journey of how we got here today. Karan, thank you so much for your time and join me today on this podcast.
Thank you, Cam. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, well, it's the pleasure's all mine. We've worked together, since April this year, and man, I think where your direction is going, it's gonna blow people's minds in years to come. Looking back,
Fingers crossed, and we are all positive, optimistic with what we do.
amazing. So let's just start off with people who don't know what the brand is. Tell us more about 0 to 1.
So 0 to 1, let's start with the meaning behind it. And I think it's pretty much when people hear 0 to 1, it gets clear to their head that it is something about taking that first step or executing that first idea. But sometimes people also confuse themselves with associating it with, going from becoming number one in the world, like maybe like Messi, Ronaldo, or all these big celebrities out there who won nothing and became something. So not exactly that, but the first one. It is about executing that first step towards the right direction, towards your dreams and pursuing your dreams according to the way you always have wanted to. So that's what 0 to 1 is, and that's what we came up with when we were starting this brand last year. The ideation phase began a lot earlier. It was in April last year when we started ideating actually on what's going to be in the brand and how we're going to do the entire execution phase. So there's a lot that has gone in behind it before you actually see what has come to the screens, as we see on Instagram or on TikToks or wherever. The um, ideation has been so deep, and the idea has always been to inspire people to take that first step and to execute your ideas. And that's what we talked about earlier when we met for the shoot, or whether it was at the gym, on how you've always wanted to start a podcast or you start a YouTube channel or make that big. So it is just to execute into it, and that's how we do it. Still, when I meet a lot of people out there, whether it's my friends or people at uni or at work, they are working over there, they are doing that thing that they want to, but there's always one idea in their head that they always want to pursue. And when you talk to them about why haven't you done that until now, and they're like, oh, I haven't been able to get a chance about it, I'm thinking about it, I'm planning, it's probably when I am financially stable, when I get that freedom. There's a lot right now going on. I have to pay off bills. one quality that's missing in a lot of people is not taking that risk. I think what separates people who take risks and who don't take risks is what 0 to 1 is. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, no, it's so true. With with the age of social media and seeing so many people reaching success in any sort of field, we basically we only really discover them when they've gone viral, seen
yeah,
success, and then when we think like, oh, you know what, I want to try and do that, we don't really necessarily see the starting steps. Like we're
true.
like, well, okay, how do we actually get to this place, or even half that stage
Yeah,
of this person that we admire? And that can hold so many people back. And I really love this idea of just taking that first step, because it literally that's where it starts, taking that
that's where
first
it
step.
starts. And to take that first step, there are thousand more steps that you actually have to take in order to take that first step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where in your life, maybe early on, did you when you first realized that it is about the first step?
Um, I think it was last year. Again, everything comes down to last year. 2023 has been a big turn around, I think a big point in my life where I realized what things I want to pursue. You know how everyone talks about you should have a purpose, find your why. What do you want to do and why do you want to do? So I put a lot of my head into it, into finding my calling. Once you find your calling, you somehow just find ideas or you find ways to put everything you have into it and make that into a reality. So my idea of 0 to 1, where I had to take that first step, came last year. I so 2022, I participated in the elections for Activate UTS, and I ran that entire campaign, and everything happened. In January, I went back to India just for a short break before the next session starts. And also, last year was the year when I was getting graduated, and I just had this in my head. I don't want to finish my graduation and look for a job for another 6 to 10 months and end up, in a place where I don't want to be. That's what scared me. I think that fear of not landing at a place where I don't want to be, that pushed me into starting this up. And from then onwards, in January, when I came back in mid-February, all I put myself was into ideating of what I am going to be doing before I finish my graduation so that there's something I have to pursue once I'm done. So I put in those 3 4 months ideating. It was till May, I would say, April, May, where we ideated. It was me with my two mates. They really helped me do everything. We um, sat together in the evenings, and the only thing we discussed over dinner was, guys, what's one thing that you think people would want to buy or people will pay for? So we thought of an idea of connecting like-minded individuals with a community of that they belong to. For example, I was thinking of starting something up. So I wanted to connect with people who are thinking about the same idea, starting something up, maybe a tech startup, maybe a YouTube channel, or maybe a clothing brand. I want to connect with those people. But the only thing we were facing trouble with was finding a way to monetize that. So we had an idea, but we didn't know how to actually monetize and turn that into a business, because ultimately whatever I wanted to do was a business, because that lays the foundation of any ideas that you have. If you have an idea which does not generate money or does not generate any financial wealth, won't be it won't be sustainable enough in the long run. So
For sure.
to look for that idea, that's when we realized there has to be a product. And looking for the product, the same idea continued, looking for a product, but empowering people to execute. That's how we came up with clothing. So there came the t-shirts that people should wear, t-shirts that are inspiring, motivating, and wear your goals. That's what, when you go on the website, that's what it reads. It says wear your goals. Simple as that. I think that was my turning point of where I thought it was time to take 0 to 1.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think it's like really cool that, well, you had this point in your life where it was you've faced some conflict. What do I do? Do I try and go to a job
Yeah,
and that's going to be following on from my degree that I spent years and money on,
yeah,
or do I take this big risk on something that I am becoming passionate about? Maybe it won't work out. Maybe I decide it's not for me in the future, but this is something I want to pursue right now. And
absolutely.
you did
Yeah.
that. What was the support around you like when you decided that this is what I'm going to do? Please share about that.
My friends were very supportive throughout the journey, as I said. Those two mates of mine, with whom I would discuss all these ideas with, they were really supportive of it. I was initially very scared of sharing things with my family because I know, coming from a very humble background and a small town in India, I know how they've sacrificed things to send me over here abroad and to study in a great institution like UTS. So I always had this one thing to give back to them and to share something like this with them, that I'm not going to be working on a regular job. I'm not going to pursue um, the proper regular what a regular kid does, graduate from uni and then look for jobs, a stable job that gives you income every week or every month. So it was very I was in a dilemma to share that with them. But when it was getting out of my hands, because I wasn't able to speak to them properly, I wasn't sharing things with them. They would call me up and they would ask me, about my whereabouts and what's happening and if everything's okay. So there was one point where in the month of June last year, I decided to share that with my dad, and I expressed myself openly, and I'm like that I want to start something up. I have this idea. It's not a miraculous idea. It's not something that is gonna generate money or turn into $1 million business idea like in a couple days or couple months. I have an idea. I want to execute it. I want to see how it works. Because even if I fail that, I'll probably learn a lot. I'll probably learn a lot more than I would waste my time in working on a job where I'm not passionate about. I'm working with people doing the work for someone else, and not satisfying my own inner self. So I finally did that, and surprisingly, he was very supportive of it. He he did not stop me ever. He he was I would say, I think he was hiding his fear, I would say, of not letting me pursue what I want to, because somewhere still at the back of his head he has this thing of getting into a stable job, but he didn't express that, and he still doesn't express that openly. So I think parents and friends have been a tremendous support for me, and it's all because of them that the execution happened, and I think we're still on it. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's a really nice story to hear. And that I think for a lot of people, it will be a similar situation. The people around you, if they really care about you, they will support you. They may not necessarily invest their time and the same level of passion as you, but they will be willing to support you, share around your products, talk about it with people, and support you on this journey. Not for all, but
Another
yeah,
one thing.
if you can, yeah, and then you'll realize that the fear is just in your head. That's all it is.
Yeah.
When I decided to actually launch my Instagram, right, my public fitness Instagram, I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like people around me, they're gonna think like, they don't really know fitness, whatever. And it took so long to launch that. And same with the YouTube video as well. Even though I've done YouTube videos in the past, but this was like something new. Now I'm actually branching out into fitness as a personal trainer, creating fitness videos. What the hell am I talking about? Like I've this imposter syndrome coming to my head. What do people think of me? In the end, the people around me, they supported me, and then they just kind of, you know, went about on their own journey. They
Yeah. Yeah.
which, and I think a lot of people have that fear of just holding back because they're worried about, is this going to fail? What do people think of me? Do people think I'm a failure? All that stuff.
That I truly agree with that. A lot of people are into that thing. What people are going to think about it, if what if it fails? what if I let them down? But you know, you can't assume anything if you don't do it. So you have
Yeah.
to do it to see the results. And talking about support, I would like to also mention, still till date, the first five people that like any of our Instagram or videos or reels that we post on Instagram or on any social media, the first is my mom, the second is my dad. I can see the notifications coming in, and then are my two other mates. These
Love
are four
that.
people
Yeah.
who are on with me every single time. These four people always. So I think it's great.
Amazing. Yeah. Have you always been entrepreneurial or into business, or has this suddenly just happened in the last year?
I think you know how the wave of entrepreneurship has been coming by gradually since I would say after COVID. A lot of people have turned into entrepreneurship and getting more into businesses rather than jobs. I think that had an impact. The Shark Tank wave. I wasn't exposed to Shark Tank since since the COVID came. I saw my first Shark Tank in 2020, and I think that probably did inspire me to get onto this path. But I would be very honest. I haven't been into business or entrepreneurship since forever. But I think whatever happened is for the good, and yeah, probably I think we'll keep on it and may turn well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, same with me. I had never had any childhood stories of setting up an ice cream shop, out the front. None of that. I just knew I wanted to. There was some point in my life where I wanted to have my own life and decide what I actually wanted to do rather than follow the traditional path.
Yeah.
And it didn't really know what that looked like until years later, but there was lots of planning, lots of journaling, trying new things, exploring new opportunities, and then until some things were meshing together into what I liked, what I was good at, and what I'm ultimately passionate about and open to share to people.
Yeah, but one thing that I have realized after coming into entrepreneurship is that this is the best way to find your financial freedom. This is where you can work for a couple of years, I would say 5-10 years in a regular job, or even if you're working in a good company, you can go up to like I would say a couple $100,000 a year, or maybe $500,000 a year at max, I would say. But if you put all that time and all that energy into building your own brand or building your own business over those years, you can turn that idea into $1 million idea or even more. That's what I strongly believe in.
Yeah, absolutely. And having the ultimate goal is to have choice on how you spend your time because that's so finite, right? And yeah, it's riskier. It's not guaranteed. It's there's luck involved, but there's also hard work. There's skill. There's timing into the market. There's so many different factors that can
Definitely.
impact your financial situation. And not every business idea is going to stick. We always hear about a time. A lot of these successful brands that we hear today, those founders, they've had failed ideas,
Of
but
course.
they just tried something new. And sometimes, they might even go bankrupt, but we don't want to get that situation. But sometimes it does happen. But at the end of the day, they manage to keep pushing on no matter the setback and have the life that they always wanted to have.
Yeah. Just keep going from 0 to 1.
Yeah. So what are your expectations of the first year of 0 to 1, and what are some of the positive or negative experiences that have shown up since then?
Right. Again, I'll share something that is very, very close to the team that was working behind the brand. And initially, I remember, so my birth date is 31st of December. On the 1st of January this year, I had the team, or I had my friends come by, and we all sat down, and I'm like, let's write down a few goals of what we want to do for this year. Um, very honest, being very, very honest, we haven't reached any close to those goals. When I look back at it, I think they were vague, or not. I would say I'm a very delusional person. I live in the delusion, but that I try to make that delusion a reality. So keeping that delusion of achieving, our goal was to achieve hit $100,000 this year in revenue, which is um, a significant high amount for a young startup brand. We haven't reached close to that yet. I would say we are halfway, midway there. But I think having that goal so far away from you, it did help us a lot to at least push the limits to where we are. If we didn't keep that goal, if there wasn't any $100,000 to hit this year, we probably wouldn't even hit what we are hitting right now. So I think goals do help us a lot. Setting that goal on the first day of the year, it helped us a lot. The second one was to hit a certain number of followers on Instagram, hit certain number of views on TikToks and Instagram reels that we post. Again, we are not at all close to it, but if you look at the overall number of engaged accounts engaged, I think we are pushing ourselves to the extremes, and we are trying to, hit that spot sooner or later, maybe in the coming 3 or 4 months. But that's it really helped us a lot. Yeah, so experience with what we expected in the first year, we aren't anywhere close to what we wanted, but we are on track. Maybe if not this year, probably by the mid of next year, we'll hit them. Yeah.
Yeah. No, really great insight. Having big goals that are scary
Yeah.
is super important.
Yeah.
But also having this balance between being realistic and also not having your emotions so tied to the goal. Like, for instance, not being close to hitting your financial goal, for instance. If you were so tied to this goal, you have some negative emotions or experiences from this outcome. You might be disappointed. You might be feeling discouraged from continuing this path. But if you didn't set this high enough goal, you made some significant progress towards it. It's like, say, someone who wants to lose 20 kilos in weight, and in 1 year they only managed to do 10. 50% of the way, you can think of it that way, but 10 kilos is a lot of weight, and you can still see a physical transformation from that. And the fact that you've already built this momentum to lose the first 10, the last 10 is going to be easier because you know what to do, you know what's working. You should have to just be patient and keep going with the goal and adjust, some areas where you need to. But I feel like for you, like, you've already built this momentum, right? The next 6 months, like, I'm sure it's going to be a huge exponential increase compared to the last 12 months. And I do really like the value of 18-month goals, because 12 months does seem, that goes by quite quick.
Yeah.
But 18 months, it's like just enough where you could really see the progress from day one.
So that's what I really like what you said. Um, you learn a lot when you start. So you get those insights, what's working. I think that we've realized that what's working for us and what's not working for us, what ads to run, what kind of content to post. So the first year is probably, technically it is about that. It is about learning and gaining insights, consumer insights, whether it's consumer insights or whether it's insights from your ads that you run or the content that you post. I think that's where we've reflected a lot. And that is why now for the next 6 months, as you said, there is we are expecting an exponential growth. It's just about being optimistic and learning from the mistakes that we made in the past. And it is for everyone else listening to this podcast. If you guys are starting something up, 18 months is a good goal. Keep your goals for the first 18 months. And for the first 12 months, you'll probably be somewhere, whether it's a quarter of that goal or whether it's up to 50% of that goal. But for the last 6 months, you'll definitely push yourself a lot more than what you did in that first year.
So I'm really curious on, like, why, like, fashion was the way to go, because especially in Sydney, being a very crowded, competitive market, I can imagine, like, it's very hard to firstly even get in, but then also actually making profit off your products and continuing to grow that brand. Tell us more what that experience has been like.
Choosing fashion. That's a very good question, Cam. The answer is very simple. It's really very simple, and a lot of people listening to this podcast might laugh, but doing something or building a business in fashion is the easiest thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
the reason that is because you can source there are countries that you can source products from so cheap, whether it's China, there's Bangladesh, there's Pakistan, there's India, there's Vietnam. All these a commodity. It's a commodity, right? Clothing is a commodity. You can source these items for so cheap and yet sell them at a price where there's enough profit margin to make a certain amount just for yourself. It might not be enough in the first year again, but if you keep that continuing for a long period of time, you 100% you'll generate a sufficient amount of money that you've invested, and you obviously get a return on that. So I think first thing is that it was the easiest thing to do. That is why we thought of putting 0 to 1 into clothing. And yeah, again, the idea that we wanted to empower people. And while we were reflecting on that, how to empower people, we were always looking for a product that people come in contact in their everyday lives. And what's one thing that comes in contact with us in our everyday? It's clothing. We wear clothes every single day, whether it's there's clothing for gym, there's clothing for your everyday wear, there's clothing for night. There's so many different aspects where people change their clothes regularly, that they want to have a set of clothes for a particular set of actions. So why we made 0 to 1 was so that you can work out freely or work out comfortably. Maybe if you're in the gym and you're wearing a 0 to 1, reading what's on the t-shirt, whether it's written on the back of the t-shirt, grinding into 365, which is grinding every single day for the rest of the year, that should motivate you to actually work out more. Or whether I'm working on a business, when I read what I'm wearing, it just gives me that confidence, the feeling of confidence, or 0 to 1. I have to go from 0 to 1. This is what I'm built for. So yeah.
Yeah, and that really makes sense. I've never even thought about fashion before, and in the fact that I'm now representing you guys, that's it. It wasn't a goal that I was expecting, but I'm so happy to be on board and help promote, share the brand as much as I can. Because generally, I really love the products. What are some of the values that you've like really wanted to have when you were creating your products?
In terms of,
As in, when you decided to, okay, I want to create this design
yeah.
and inspire people with it, what are some of the non-negotiable properties or values that you wanted to
Yeah.
be with your products? What separates you from others?
Yeah. Okay. The first was the quality. Our idea was to get a product which is obviously high in quality and affordable in price. Um, so to do that, so quality is one. Okay, I'll start that later on. So quality is one. If you talk about designs, we through our designs, what we started with the Australian market, to be very specific, people like more minimal designs when they're out, whether they're out or whether they're working out in the gyms. We've seen a lot of people just wearing a blanks. People just prefer wearing a blank black t-shirt or a blank white shirt, whether they're out with their family, friends, on a beach, in a party, or anywhere. So our idea with designing was very simple: to keep it minimal and give that contemporary look where people, if they decide to wear that, they do not have to think it twice. Oh, I'm going to the gym. Is it okay to wear that in the gym? So, nothing like, because there are a lot of designs out in the market, a lot of brands do that. You can't wear a certain set of clothing for a certain I would say a certain area or a certain place that you're visiting. For example, you're visiting maybe a church. So we want to make something that can be worn anywhere. That's why it's an everyday wear. So that is what the ideas were, while we design, while we create, and while we source the products. And yeah, if there are people in audience who are wanting to start something like this, there's a lot that goes into sourcing the right kind of fabric and understanding what consumers in your targeted location wants. So talking about Australia, people are very inclined towards sustainability. So that is one thing we had in our head, to get clothing that's sustainable. And that is the reason all our items that we sell are all 100% cotton. We don't have any plastics involved. We don't have any polyesters involved. It's all cotton. So these were three things that we kept in our head while we were coming up with the qualities.
Quality, 100%. That's what we should be striving for, and sustainability. I love that. How big is your team, and what did that look like in the early stages? Were you juggling multiple hats, and has that sort of balanced out to maybe a more specific role that you have now?
Um, it hasn't, to be very honest. I'm still juggling. I'm probably doing a lot of things still, which I was doing a year back. I overlook my primary roles currently in the business are to overlook marketing, branding, and designing. We have a team that looks for our creative aspect, which is handling shoots and the websites. We have a lot of freelancers working with us. They are the easiest persons to approach, if there's a certain job to be done. But yeah, with everything that's going on, with the stage that we are at right now, because we haven't really, I would say, hit that record or hit that kind of milestone where we can actually, I can just take a role, step back, take a more managerial role. That hasn't happened yet, because obviously we are in the early stage of the brand. So I think it's for everyone starting up. It's for every entrepreneur starting this thing up. For the first 5 years, you have to handle everything. And I think I'm learning a lot, juggling around all these things, all these different roles. I also do the shoots. I've learned how to do the shoots. I've learned editing. I've learned designing, everything that goes behind the brand. I've learned everything with that first-hand experience of doing it for the brand. So still on it, and I think it's really enhanced my skill set now. If you know, if there's anyone coming in, it really helps me understand where they're coming from. The design language they are bringing on the table and the editing skills they have. So it just helps me better manage them as well. Yeah.
Yeah, huge skills. I've definitely learned more just from doing
Yeah.
the things rather than learning it. So whether it's writing, that's a new passion that I'm falling into, and that's only happened. Well, actually, I started it when I was in the Boulder Stock team, and I was writing the newsletters, and I was like, I really enjoyed writing, considering I hated it during school, discouraged from that, and then now doing my own newsletters and LinkedIn posts, I'm enjoying that. And now I'm getting really good, and well, in a way where I'm getting compliments from other people. It's like, wow, okay, I did not expect that. And then following on from short form editing, like it's something I don't necessarily enjoy as much as long form content, but I'm getting better. I'm looking at what other people are doing, like, okay, how can I do that or make it that way? Because with the competition so high, and with the market becoming more saturated, it's like you have to find ways to keep leveling up your game and everything, and you just learn so much from doing.
Yeah.
When you're in your ideation phase, will you focus more firstly on the market research, doing as much as you can, or were you trying to get your first like minimum viable product and then refine from there?
Both of those things were going on side by side, because as I said, I was in my last year of uni, and um to my luck or to my favor, what happened was, in one of our subjects, it was an entrepreneurship and innovation. Our um the only project we had to do for the entire semester was to build a startup. And what I decided to build upon was a brand. And I took that into the streetwear space. That helped me do the entire market research, not just nationally in Australia, but also globally. Which brands are the best, understanding what goes behind building a brand. So I did that. And while that was happening, because we were all sourcing it from overseas in India, um, I ordered a lot of samples. We started ordering samples right when we decided to pursue the idea, which was in May last year. Our first samples came to us on 10th of June, and they were uh, rejected the moment we opened them. They were the worst we could ever have imagined. Not at all the product we wanted. Not at all the printing type we wanted. So yeah, and right after that, we started ordering a lot of samples from different suppliers, different manufacturers from all over India. India was the most convenient option just because we come from there, and we've got our family over there. They can, if there's something to overlook on when we are overseas here, and it's just easier to manage. That's why our preference was India. And secondly, India is a growing market for clothing, and there's a lot of manufacturers that are coming up. It's becoming like China. It's one of the greatest manufacturing hubs currently. So that's why we decided to go for that. And yeah, market research going on throughout the semester, and sourcing of all these samples is going out just behind the back. So everything's on time, side by side.
Yeah. No, love that. What inspires you and what keeps you motivated?
I think the drive be to achieve all the dreams that I have now. I didn't have these dreams until before we started the brand. But now when I look at it, the like it's crazy. The ambition that I have got within me, I think it's insane. I wanna get to that level which my own future self, when I look at that, I think that inspires me a lot, that I want to be that kind of person. So when I look into it, that's what keeps me moving. Every single day, there's a part of my day which goes into reflecting on what's gone throughout the day and what's done. You know, there's a set of tasks that I make that have to be done for the brand, and reflecting on those tasks, I just try and achieve what's there in the future, what I imagine myself for the future.
Truly inspiring. I would love to know, what does your day in the life look like, balancing building your
Ah,
brand, but then
people
other
don't want to
commitments as
hear that.
well?
People don't want to hear that.
I want to
Like,
hear it.
um, my day in a life as a running a clothing brand is very different because I work across a different time zone, because I work with manufacturers in India, and we've got a set of freelancers in India as well who are given a certain set of tasks that are to be done. So my time frames of working is very different. I am an evening person. I My day starts. I feel so awkward sharing this, but yeah, my day starts at around 11 in the morning. That's when it starts. It's just because I work late at nights, and um, right from that moment, it's just about being on a regular day as waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning. That's how I start at 11. Um, I I meditate. I've started meditating. I did not meditate earlier. I've started meditating just past couple weeks, and it has really helped me reflect on my inner self. Yeah, there were a lot of things that were happening earlier. There's transformations happening every single time. So just for that, I started meditation, and I'm trying to continue that. So first things first, I meditate early in the morning and grab my cereals and breakfast at around 12, 12:30. That's when I grab a breakfast. Maybe you know, just from just a chicken sandwich, or just a egg roll or something. And after that, it's all on 0 to 1. I open the Shopify, we start editing with whatever is going to be posted throughout the day. We have it done a day before. So we just have to schedule everything up on what's going to go up today. Because every single day we are posting, our content posting is very often, very frequent. There's everything planned from past month. It has everything been in the planning, that we prepare everything in advance. And Yeah, so right from that, we are working with the team. We're doing it in a hybrid manner, whether it's in a hybrid manner or whether there's shoots happening, then we go for shoots in the evenings. We have models coming by, and then later in the evening, it's the editing. Once we're done with the shoots and everything, there's editing going on till 8:30, I would say. And I around the same time I grab my dinner and then hit the gym around 9:30. Um, so yeah, it's all a laid back routine of same as a regular person who's waking early in the morning and come back. I have my dinner late around 1 a.m. or so and
Wow.
start gonna start working on the um posts for the next day, on the emails that are to be sent out for the next day. And in the middle of that, it just depends the number of orders that you have to be fulfilled that day. So it just gets fulfilled in the gap wherever we get time, because early in the morning there have to be orders that have to be sent out because it has to go out before 9 a.m. So setting all everything up in that manner, scheduling posts. So yeah, very, very vague routine, something I wouldn't recommend anyone to follow at all, because it just depends, the way you are, the way your body clock works. It's just I'm into that constraint right now where I have to work across two different time zones. So
Mm.
managing the factories at the same time and managing a team which is sitting in a different country. So that happens a lot. I think that's why it is this way. So please don't get inspired by this routine at all. But yeah.
Well, I'm very interested to hear that, because most of the stories I come across, it's about waking up early, but for you,
Yeah,
it's totally
I
different.
know.
11 a.m. start, like, you know, it's not
Because I
often
sleep I
you
sleep
hear
at
that.
3:34 in the morning. I sleep then. So I try and get a sleep of around 7 hours. That's what my time is. So if I sleep at
Mm.
3, I wake up at 10. If I sleep at 4, I wake up at 11. So, and that's the approximate time of going to bed. It's just because I've got that routine set up, working across different time zones. But I want to change that. So if I be very honest, I really want to change that. I want to get into the habit of sleeping early so that I can, when I'm living in Sydney, I live according to Sydney's time. It's gonna help me a lot though. But yeah,
Yeah,
sooner or later I'll try and do that.
yeah. What is your vision of 0 to 1, short and long term?
Yeah, that's a very, very nice question. You're going very deep, Cam. Very deep into
That's what
all
we
the
are
insights,
doing on this podcast.
grabbing all the insights. Yeah. So vision for the brand is to be a global one, so that first of all we are delivering globally. There are people around all around the world. There are communities around the world that represent 0 to 1, and we want people to associate with 0 to 1 with the way they associate themselves with Nike or with Adidas. These companies have been built over years, decades. They're like one of the biggest companies of the world. Our vision is to be something like them. If you talk about the long-term vision, which is a very insane thing to talk about if you're looking at it now, but obviously if you have a long-term vision, that's it can be delusional. So I think building a brand like that is would be a dream come true. But talking about the short-term visions for the next 6 months or for the next year, it is just to expand our catalog. We want to get more products out there so that people have a lot of items to choose from, and they can style themselves up in 0 to 1 outfit wherever they are going, because we are going to build a everyday wear brand. And we are into that phase. Winters, we are already in the planning of getting winter articles ready. Um, and yeah, so financially, we've got few goals with us. We want to achieve. We'll try working towards them.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing. Those big brands, when you hear that name of the brand, it's a feeling, right?
Yeah.
When you think of Nike, you think of just do it, and you're like, okay, just gonna do it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool to have this vision of creating this feeling when you hear, when you see 0 to 1. What does that feeling give you? You know,
Yeah.
and that's ultimately in the name, taking that first step, right, on your
Yes.
journey. So you mentioned, like, some of the goals and products that you have in the next 6 months that you're going to release. Do you have anything else that you want to share that's coming up with 0 to 1, being pretty much a year now of the brand?
There are new things coming in. We are manufacturing lowers as well. Um, they're gonna be shorts coming out. We're planning for cargos as well. And we shared one of the looks for a utility jacket. So that's one major thing in the planning. A lot of people, when we posted that story up, a lot of people um, reached out to us and they really wanted that to go into production. So the only thing is, it's that jacket is really expensive. It's really going to cost us a lot to make that, and to make that a certain number of units. We are just finalizing that number. If we order that stock, are we really sure of selling that out? Because one of the main problems with fashion or any brand in this space is dead stock. You cannot have inventory lying in your warehouse and you don't end up selling that. So we take care of that very, very seriously, and whenever we are planning our drops, we take care of those quantities. We keep that in mind always. So yeah, but there are a lot of new things that are coming out. There's jackets coming out, there are lowers coming out. Hoodies and t-shirts are going to continue because they have received a lot of love. So we'll continue with that. Yeah.
I'm so excited for the shorts. I always seem to just run low on shorts, and to have some 0 to 1 pairs, like that'd be amazing. That would complete my
We'll send
collection.
that to you. We'll send that.
To wrap up this podcast, I wanted to ask, do you have any advice for young people who are having this vision? It doesn't have to be a startup, but they have this project, this idea, this passion they want to pursue. What is one piece of advice you would give them?
So everyone watching this podcast would have heard this before, but I'm gonna repeat that again, and that's the advice I would like to give everyone. The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago, but the second best time to do it is now. And that's exactly with your goals, that's exactly with your ideas. If you wanted to do that last year, or if you wanted to do that a couple years ago, and you weren't able to do that for XYZ, whatever reason, the best time to do it is now. You won't get to know the results until you execute that. So put that into work, put those ideas into work, and let the results decide for you.
Amazing. I love that so much. Where can people find you?
Yeah. So um, we'll post the link below, and just follow us on 0 to 1 store. We've got 0 to 1 store everywhere. That's our Instagram, that's our TikTok, and that's our website, www.0to1.store. And @ 0 to 1 store is our Instagram and TikTok. So hit us up, follow us as much as you can, share us with your friends, families. We are a multicultural and a very societal brand with a cause of empowering people. So it's a diverse, it's for everyone, I would say. So yeah, just check us out.
Man, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure for you to join on, and thank you so much for giving us your valuable time to be with us today.
That's it's all mine. Pleasure's all mine. Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, and thank you to the audience for listening to the Midweek Motivation Podcast. All links and resources will be shown in the description below. And if you'd like to order from 0 to 1, you can actually enter the code CAM10 on checkout to save 10% off your order. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, as it supports this show and the channel. And if you're interested, you may also like the Midweek Motivation newsletter, where every week you'll receive a useful, healthy tip or motivational story straight into your inbox. Thank you again for watching or listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.